All right, let's go. All right, let's go, Tim.
So, Dad, to Sunday morning, tomorrow, Game 7, big game, Cindy.
Big game.
7th game. Captain Obvious, both teams want to win it,
Yeah.
type of thing. So, the question I got to ask, though, Dad, this is the game 6. It's 2-0 for the Oilers, and Panthers come right back and score, and they get a call back.
Yeah.
Like, how does the team get mad, or does that deflate them?
They deflate them. It really, really deflates them. I know that they come on strong. It's 2. Make it 2-1, and it really deflates them.
Yeah, I remember. I was at the game in Toronto when Sittler scored his 10 points, and it was 2. It was either 2-0 or 2. I think it was 2-1 Toronto, and John Rattel gave Bobby Schmutz a pass, and he would have had a breakaway. No, it was Johnny Busick would have had a breakaway. It was Johnny Busick. And John D'Amico called it offside. And there was no way that was offside. Like, it was onside. And D'Amico turned to the bench and said, sorry, guys, I blew it, because the Bruins started yelling.
Yeah.
So if you wonder if Busick would have went in and scored, it made that 2-2, because on the next faceoff, they come down and make it 3-1, if that would have changed things. But
well, I don't know about that. I don't know about that one, Tim, but I know one thing. I remember that in Chicago, in the Chicago series in the playoffs, that Schmutzy got an overtime goal, and they called it back, and they said it was offside. I remember that one as if it was yesterday.
And when you coached, Dad, there's not too many goals were called back.
No, they didn't have that, but I still think they should just go and let it go.
Let it go, and it all equals out in the wash.
Yeah. It'll all come out in the wash.
So you're saying if you were a coach, you would rather have it everything be reviewed, but just it is what it is.
Just it is what it is, and let it go at that.
So the one thing, Dad, that Cindy, we were talking about, it's interesting that this year, Connor McDavid and Draisaitl haven't killed any penalties all playoffs.
And I've never understood why they kill the penalties. They take a regular shift, they play the power play, and they kill the penalties. So what else is it to do?
Right, because you can look, talk about the Leafs, but Marner and Nylander, that's what they did. They played the power play, killed the penalties, and played a regular shift.
I think somebody said something to him that he stopped using Draisaitl and McDavid as killing the penalties.
Yeah, so I don't think those guys would get mad that they're not killing penalties.
No, I don't think they never blocked many shots. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So you don't think that he's worried about tiring McDavid out?
No, penalty killers are Nugent Hopkins, Janmark, McLeod, and Brown, and they're doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, they've only let in 4 goals all playoffs, and they scored 3 shorthanded or something like that. It's like they're +1 or something like that.
You played, and you coached your whole season like that. You had specialty guys. That's their only job, just about, was to kill penalties.
Before the referee put their hand down, they were out on the ice, ready to go.
Yeah. You hate to say those guys are expendable, but you want them blocking shots.
I want them blocking shots, and I want them doing. I was one of those guys that he's blocking the shots, and nobody cared whether I got hurt or not.
And those were the guys that if you guys got a big lead, you throw those guys out on the power play. Sometimes you would have them, play a regular shift. I always thought, oh, good, he's going to get a chance to play the power play when you were running up a score. And that's why you had 11 goal scorers, right, Dad?
Yeah. Skinner 5-0 in the elimination playoffs this year, Tim.
Yeah, I know. He's perfect in the elimination games, 5-0 with goals against under 2. So the question is, Dad, who's going to win?
Oh,
well, first of all, who's got the most pressure?
Well, got the most pressure is Florida because they were up 3-0. They've got pressure on them now, and I think they'll come out smoking, and I think they'll win. My heart is with the Oilers, but my brain is with the Florida.
Got an interesting email, Dad, that got quite the story. And it says, I have been wanting to reach out to you for many years, but have never been able to do that or just missed the chance. I have a rather interesting story to pass on. Many years ago, my parents had season tickets at the Maple Leaf Gardens. The seats were in the box 23, row 3, seat 3 and 4, directly behind the visitors' bench. One night with the Bruins, the Bruins were in town, and Don and you were behind the bench. Undoubtedly into the game, as all coaches are, there were some choice words and phrases directed at the refs. It was later in the game, at either a TV timeout or delay of some kind, that my mom spoke up and said to you.
I remember exactly what she said. What'd she say?
You know, we could do with a little less swearing from you. This is
No,
what
she said, I remember this. She said, Jerry, you have a filthy mouth. And, I said, geez, man, imagine if that was Ma. Anyhow, I went up and, go ahead, Cindy.
Well, he just said that you turned and acknowledged her request on possibly not swearing as much. And that was because you thought of, what if that was your mom?
I thought if that was Ma sitting up there and hearing those words.
So fast forward to your Rock'em Sock'em videos years later, when you were reminiscing about your many experiences at the Maple Leaf Gardens. And so during one of the videos, you walked across the ice of the empty building at the visitors' bench, through the gate and up to box 23, row 3, and recalled that a woman asked you, so you remember that, and you do remember.
I remember, and I thought if it was Ma.
That's right. I purchased the Rock'em Sock'em videos every Christmas and was playing the Rock'em Sock'ems to one of my 2 sons at around Christmas time. When we saw it, I immediately called Mom, and she confirmed that the story, since it was the first time I had ever heard her say anything about it to them at all. Yes, dear, that was me. And thankfully, he toned it down, she said. The funny thing is that her last name was Cherry. What are the odds on that?
Yeah, what the odds on that? Because I've never heard of anybody named Cherry.
No.
She was so modest, she never did follow up and tell Dawn or her last name that night. I'm sure you would have had a good chuckle.
I had a big chuckle out of that one, and I said, "Imagine if that was Ma."
Yeah.
You know what? I bet you would have thought, "Oh no, she knows my mother." And might say your mom. That's what I thought.
I did tone it down.
So
I went up and I sat beside her in the row. I'm in the row.
While the game's on.
And the game's on. And I said, "Now tell me, you've never heard those. You never heard those words before." She says, "Yes, but I never had paid $200 to hear them." And that was the end. That was the end of that.
So, because I remember, like, back in the days, the last 2 rinks to have, like, no glass was Toronto and Montreal. And in Montreal, they had police on either side, so there was no peak. In Toronto, when the whistle blow, the people would be going up and down. Excuse me, I want to get a beer and a hot dog. And I remember one time Wendell, he was kind of wincing in pain, and the guy had a beer and a hot dog, and Wendell had to get out of the way. But that was crazy back there in Toronto.
But it was crazy. You could get right in amongst the players, as they say.
Yeah, and we'd like to thank Paul Cherry for that email. That was something. And speaking of people in the stands, Cindy,
Okay, since we're talking about behind the bench, I'm sure there was many men and probably a couple women like me, that there was one hot-looking woman sitting right behind. Was it the Tampa or the other team?
No, she was sitting behind the Oiler bench.
Right, and said,
she's usually in Dallas.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, so you remember her personally. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I said to Tim, "Whoa, I bet you they'll get the camera a lot on her tonight." And you surprised me and told me what?
I think that they were told either by Sportsnet or the NHL, don't show her.
Really? Because they didn't. I only saw her once or twice.
Her.
No, you didn't. You just caught her once or twice.
In the beginning of the game, I even said, "Whoa, the camera's going to be on her a lot."
I just think that the NHL and just said, just don't be focusing in on her, and we got other things to promote during the game. And not
I don't
her.
remember this. Why did you say something to me? I would have liked to seen her.
Yeah, no, she was only on a couple of times, and I went, oh, that's that woman from Dallas, and as they say, after that, they never panned.
You see the guy she was with. You saw the guy, but you just cut her off.
The only other thing, too, watching that game is how did the Panther fans get seats right behind the Panthers bench in Edmonton?
That was amazing. They must put them aside.
He must have gave them to them.
Yeah, but holy smokes. Like, how much would those tickets be worth? In Edmonton, be at least $2,000, if not more.
Maybe they were relatives of somebody.
Yeah. So, Dad and Cindy, the playoffs are here, and there's never been a better time to bet on your favorite Canadian team with your favorite Canadian sportsbook, NorthstarBets.com. They're proudly Canadian and one of the best places to play in Canada. NorthstarBets.com has everything you're looking for, a sportsbook with built-in sites and analytics, slots, live dealer tables, exceptional customer service. Get to the playoffs right now, NorthstarBets.com, and NorthstarBets.com is not available in Ontario, and you're picking Florida with your head.
I'm picking Florida. My heart is with the Oilers. Believe me, it is. But my brain says pick the Florida.
Yeah, it's one of those things because you go, Bobrovsky could just turn around and steal the first game because the reality is the Oilers should have won the first two of the first three games. Like this series should be over.
Yeah, it should be.
He was the guy he was the difference. So I got a quick question though, Dad, before we go on to the next question. If the Oilers lose, does McDavid still get the Conn Smythe?
Oh boy, that's a tough. When you get that many points, you should get the MVP.
Yeah.
I really believe it.
Well, I said so. That picture will be like the picture you took with him when he was 14. And they lost the GTHL championship. And they lost to Robbie Fabre and the Mississauga Rebels, but he won the MVP of the playoffs. And, you were giving him shaking his hand, and he lost. He looked like somebody ran over his dog. He had such a pout on his face.
Yeah, well, when you don't win, you're not supposed to be smiling.
Did you pick him? Did you pick the MVP?
I know.
No, I don't know. It was like it wasn't the OHL, it was the GTHL. But like he had like 80 points, and the next kid had like 20 or something like that. So Dad, we got a message on Facebook, and he says, "My name is Brian McCarthy, and my grandfather is Tom McCarthy, who I believe you played alongside for in Boston. I know this is not the typical thing you get a message on Facebook. I never knew him, and wondering if you could tell me some things about my grandfather, Tom McCarthy."
He was the toughest guy I ever played against, and I played against some pretty tough guys. I remember Daryl. We were facing off in the corner in our end, and he said, "Grapes." And he looked over at Tom. I said, I know. Don't fool with that guy. And I'll tell you a story. And when I played for Sudbury, I was playing for Sudbury, and we were losing, and they had green sweaters on. I'll never forget that. And I broke my stick over the guy at center ice. I looked up, and it was Tom McCarthy, and I'm down with a little stub of a stick. And I think he just smiled. He was the toughest guy I ever played against.
Yeah, he had a long career. I mean, he played a couple, a little bit in the NHL.
Tim, when you take him up to Detroit or take him to the National Hockey League, he'd kill penalty. And he never killed penalties. He used to play the power play all the time, and they had him killing penalties. I never forgot that.
Yeah, but that's like you said a lot of times with, we talked about this before with, you would call if guys got called up to Boston who were goal scorers, they just they weren't happy.
No, they weren't happy because they were on the fourth line and they thought they should have been on the first line. And I that's why I didn't keep Dougie Gibson and from Rochester. He thought he should have been on the first line.
Yeah, I remember you said he got 2 goals and you had to send him down.
I had to tell him he was going down in the practice. You think that wasn't tough to go over and tell the guy after he scored 2 goals?
So, Dad, if Tom McCarthy was playing in the NHL today, how much would he be making?
Oh, he'd be making...
So you never played with him, though?
I never played with him. I played against him in the American League, and it was tough enough to play against him.
So was he tough with... could he fight, or was he tough
he was tough with the stick, and he was tough with the body, and he was tough with everything. And when he was standing in front, you kind of took him out a little easy. They call him Black Tom, and because he had dark curly hair, and boy, was he tough.
Okay, Dad, you know what? I gotta say, we have a good time talking between us on the porch too, and everything, don't we?
We sure do.
Yeah, we should record
And I-
the bet for podcast.
Yeah, that would be
The pre-show
the
podcast.
pre-show and all this. So we were talking about the time when we used to live in Kingston in between hockey seasons and the whole deal, and we lived, Mom and me and you. We lived with your mother and father. It was a tiny, tiny little bungalow. And
I didn't think it was that tiny.
well, it was pretty small for how many people? And then,
Anyhow, go ahead.
anyway, we used to go up, my grandmother and I, to the Memorial Center and go and play bingo. And one time, and there used to be a grand slam thing that you could get a card, and it was for big bucks. It was for $2,000 if you called bingo first.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Well, Grandma, I call her Anna, gave a ticket to one of her friends who got in late and didn't get a ticket. So my grandmother.
I'll tell you what her name was. Her name was Heather Woodcock.
Oh, was it Heather Woodcock? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Heather
Very
Woodcock.
Good. Well, you can guess it, folks. Those 2 tickets, one of them won the bingo, and I was all
Oh, how
excited.
much was it, Tim?
$2,000.
Yeah, so I looked at how much you said it was like in 50 something.
No, it was about 62.
62. So I looked how much $2,000 was 62. It was like $15,000, like buying power. It was
Yeah.
like $15,000.
$15,000.
So I could hardly wait to get home to tell you about all the excitement. The person beside us won all this money.
Yeah.
Well, the first thing, of course, you being a cherry said, "Well, how much did she give you of the prize?" You asked your mother, and she says, "Well, nothing." Boy, oh boy, did you two go at it? And I thought, of course, it was all my fault. I was only 5 years old, right?
Yeah.
And go at it. And do you remember that?
Oh, I remember. And I remember Mom saying nothing. What are you, nuts or something? You give her the card and she doesn't give you nothing. You give $300 or something. Anyhow.
Anyway, well, my question on the porch was, what were you more upset about? That Anna didn't get upset that she didn't get the money, or that the woman didn't give her any money?
That's the tough one. I was more upset that Ma didn't get any money.
Yeah.
And Ma didn't seem upset.
She didn't seem upset. That's what. Oh boy, we were going at it.
Boy, she wasn't upset.
She
Yeah,
wasn't.
just-
She really wasn't upset that much.
Like,
but
was she not upset, or was she just saying she wasn't upset?
I don't know, but she never said, and she.
So what did your dad say?
Nothing. He didn't say nothing. And she actually said she didn't care whether she give him the money or not, and she did, and that upset me more than anything.
Well, you were playing for how much? Like $4,000 a year?
I was playing for $4,500, and she earned half my money.
Oh, that's a typical Cherry story.